Hello, welcome to Book Reviews by Letitia. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about this book here, Radical Candor by Kim Scott. And before we get started, I must say this was good. So there were a lot of moments here in this book where I was just like, wow, this is good. This is good. If you know or have heard of my previous book reviews, you'll know that I enjoy books that have tangible information, tangible actions, tangible steps, and Radical Candor is full of them. I would also like to note that this is the fully revised and updated edition. In her foreword, she goes into why she took the time to revamp the book. I'll just give you a little brief explanation of that. It's because the first edition she came out with received a lot of criticism in that it appeared that she was basically telling bosses how to be assholes and be nice about being an asshole. And that's not the idea that she wants to come across. So my overall thoughts of the book was, like I said, lots of great tangible information. It was written thoroughly. So in order to address that criticism or the critiques that she was receiving before, she took the time in this book or this edition of the book to thoroughly state her point, thoroughly state what is radical candor and what is not radical candor, and what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And then lastly, I want to say that the information in this book is not designed just for the boss, right? You can be an employee, you can be in any rank within a business and read this book and get some great information on how to move up on the scale if you want, how to manage your boss if you want, how to remain and be happy in your position if you want. One of the big things that she mentions multiple times throughout this that I really value is that there's a time to be fired. A lot of times people talk about being fired as a negative thing. And I believe that being fired is actually a positive thing. Because if you're not performing, if you're not producing, there's something else in your life going on that's preventing you from being your best self. Sometimes it is outside of the workplace, in which in those cases, I think that you should take the time to handle those matters. And if it comes down to you have to leave a position and come back to it, it's for the better. And other times you're just not good at a position, or you're just not what you're really enjoying. And so being fired from a job can give you that oomph, that push, that motivation to move on to a job that's for you, better suited for you, so that you can live your best life. I don't go into that information in this video, but in this book, she does talk about the process of hiring, firing, when to do it, how to do it, performance evaluations. She really does go into the process of a business, being a boss in different sectors. So that's Google. She worked at Google for a while. Apple, startup, her own business. So she has lots of experience in these different areas. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of things that I felt like would be valuable for me. Mind you, now I'm not a business owner. I am considering starting my own business. I work with undergraduate students, so I do manage people. But by no means am I running a corporation. So, in terms of promoting or publicizing or soliciting for a job, and as well as if you're looking for a job, this is one piece of advice in the book that I found really valuable, when describing the expected skills, and this is coming from the hirer's perspective. So, whenever you're describing the skills of a position, you also need to take into account and define just as clearly the team fit. And by team fit, we're talking about the atmosphere, those who are already working for your business, your company. What is that like? Do you have a specific type of environment that you've created in your workplace? Do you have an expectation for whomever you hire to come and step in and fill that position? So it should be just as defined. And then on the opposite end of or on the other side of the table, as the person looking to be hired, you need to also understand, what is the culture that you're stepping into? Is this a culture that you feel you would fit in? And if the hire is very adamant about hiring you and you have reservations about working for this company because of its culture, ask. An interview is both parties. An interview is just as much as the person offering the position to understand if you're a good fit for the position, as well as you, as the person who's looking for a new position, to interview that company, right? You're about to commit to spending a good majority of your time with them. You should not leave the process up to them to affect your happiness. Essentially, that's what your work environment does. It has a role on your happiness and your overall life. So you want to make sure that the job that you're applying to is one that fits you well. The next thing that I wanted to bring up was feedback. She talks a lot about feedback, and I am a big person on reflection and feedback, and I think it's very important to teach your team how to give constructive criticism and how to be comfortable giving constructive criticism. I find all the time when I'm talking with my undergraduates and I'm asking them, okay, how is it going? Is there anything that can be done better? Is there any way that I can help you? And a lot of times, because a lot of people come into situations where they're just, I'm grateful to be here, I'm glad to have this job, when they don't realize that they are very well deserving of the position. They're well deserving of the place that they are. So sometimes, as the boss or the employer, you need to coach them and help them to understand that they do have a voice and they are able to speak and they are able to provide their opinion. And so, what she proposes in this book is that asking how you are doing is a general question, and asking a general question will get you a general answer. And so, a better question to ask is, what do you think about the new office design? Let's just say your office just had some renovations and they redid the floor plan. Ask your employees, what do they think about this new office design? How does it help them work? Has it improved their productivity? Do they feel more distracted? Though that is a more reactive, I guess to say, situation. Ideally, you would include your employees in the floor plan before you just make the renovations. But let's just say this is someone you just hired and the floor plans are already set in stone. Ask them, how is your work environment? Are you distracted? Do you feel like you can focus on your work? Not just how are you doing? A lot of times, and also she goes into a lot in this book. She also goes into you as a person and how you need to bring your full self to work. And what does that mean? That means, in my terms, I like to say, you need to fill your own cup. I'm going to say it one more time. Fill your own cup. And what that means is, make sure that you have taken care of yourself. Make sure that you have done the things that you need to do so that you are comfortable, so that you are happy, so that you are now able to step into sometimes a stressed work environment and not yell at people when everyone else around you is already frantic and running around crazy trying to meet a deadline. You need to be able to keep your cool. the boss, as pressureful as this sounds, the boss, if no one else, has to be able to keep their cool. In any situation, the boss needs to be able to diffuse it. Well, how can that happen if the boss isn't at peace or in peace with themselves? So you need to come to work full and then help others to become full, right? Now, I'm not saying that you need to give so much of yourself that you go home drained and have nothing else. No, not at all. But I will say that you should be able to help others so that they can also learn to prioritize themselves. Because as soon as you prioritize yourself, everything else around you becomes easier. You're more patient, you're more understanding. You can make those quick judgment calls. All of those things are important to being successful and running and leading a group of people, whether it's a business, in a lab setting, as what I work with, and things like that. Another important thing that she mentioned is this is something that I've actually struggled with at times, is that knowing the place that a person is in. So in the book, one of the terms that she uses is a rock versus, I believe, a rock star. I can't remember exactly. But your rock is someone who's not looking to build, someone who is keeping the flow of your business steady and constant. They are really like the stability, the foundation of whatever group or business. And then you're going to have your rock stars. I believe that's what she called them. But you're going to have those who are striving to go further. They're striving to move. They're striving to increase their knowledge to get a different position in the business, the corporation, the group, whatever. And so both of these people have value, because you need someone who's stable, someone who knows a position, someone who's going to train and teach and be able to do it effectively. But then you also need people who are going to move up the ladder, move up the chain, become what you are, or go off somewhere else, be innovative, do whatever. But you need people in both settings, and you need to reward people in both settings. A lot of times people look at those who want to move up in their position as the ones who get the promotions. But in her book, she also says that those rocks, the people who are maintaining the foundation of your company, they deserve promotions even if it doesn't come with a change in title. Sometimes people don't want that change in title, and that's okay. People are at different phases in their life where sometimes they may be a rock for a while and they decide, you know what, I want to change position. I want to change positions. I want to move forward. So you have to be able to read your employees and push them whenever they may need a little push, or hold them in whatever position if they want to be held in that position, but be able to understand the needs of your workers, employees, and use them in those areas, because that's where they will help you thrive in your business. And lastly, something that I also wanted to note is that many times in the book, she also says that this is not a step-by-step guide. And I really appreciate that, because a lot of times people will read these books and say, oh, let me go and repeat this process exactly as I've seen it. Nothing. I mean, sure, they do say that, step 1, step 2, step 3, you can get these results. But when it comes to working with people, when it comes to creating projects, when it comes to just creation, period, you can't follow a step-by-step process and expect the exact same results every single time. You can take this information, and this is how I took the information, as a grain of salt, and which you can then take those many grains of salts and implement them as you see necessary to make X, Y, or Z happen, right? Or to make whatever you're looking to do better. But don't take the information in this book as the end all be all, or, as bad advice or anything like that. It's neither or. It is perfectly good information that everyone can implement. Thanks for taking the time to watch this book review. I highly suggest reading this book. Good evening.